Just give me Jesus. Are we rolling?
Yeah, stick to your day job, please. I hope you don't do that in front of your college students.
Worship?
No one would be coming back. Not necessarily.
Because it's based on me, right?
You call that, yes. You call that worship. I call that like a dying cat.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I wonder if Jesus sounded perfect when he sang.
Did he sing?
Probably.
Is there scripture? You're the pastor. You should know this stuff. I'm the political guy.
I don't recount. I mean,
I don't recall.
he'd be singing to himself, like, you are good. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what's up? Didn't see you there. I feel like we're all alone. There's no one in here.
Yeah. So like most of our lives though are centered around being with people. If you really think about it, like think about your day to day. I know you live by yourself, but like realistically, you're home to sleep, and then you work remotely for a lot of stuff. But then they send you to conferences where you're with people. Church is full of people. We are with each other. You know, we meet Wednesday for accountability group. We meet every other Wednesday for college group. We meet every Wednesday night for church. We meet every Sunday morning for church. We have an event we have an event pretty much every week.
It was a good break.
Tuesday BCM.
Because last weekend we were stuck together.
We were in Charleston, South Carolina.
It was a good
but
time.
what for? Was it for Man on the Street?
Yeah, of course.
That was the only purpose.
No. It was for sharing the gospel and growing our relationship with Christ, growing our relationship with each other.
We didn't even do an introduction today.
Yeah, we just went right into it. But I don't even want to get to that part yet. I want to start with questions. Questions. So I think we got 2 questions each.
Yeah. We're starting there?
Yeah, we're starting with the questions. Bro, you have time to prepare. I told you this last night.
I got mine.
Okay, then go first.
Okay. I'm going to start deep.
Okay.
Because we agreed to one deep question and one, like...
I feel bald.
Whatever question. No, I could see it. There you go.
Jesus went... Oh, shout out Ali Beth Stuckey, Relatable Podcast.
What's your biggest regret?
Wow. Actually, I used to think what you would think I'd say is my biggest regret, but if none of that happened, I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So I don't think I have
that's why
regrets.
I didn't word the question like, what's one thing you could change? Because it's like, God is sovereign.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I don't know. I can't just say it.
Yeah, no.
I'd say that.
That's a whole episode.
Yeah. I think that's going to be like the last episode of the season is like we dive into
your testimony.
Like my story, and then we'll do like an episode at the end, like your story too. Because
I feel like people kind of know my story.
Yeah.
Maybe if you listen to
mine's like
previous episodes.
Yeah. So like to this whole TRB thing, we're already talking about it, but like my favorite part was like some people started to open up to me just like at 2 a.m. We're laying on air mattresses in a gym floor, and they just start sharing like their story and asking me questions. And I do want to share my story, but like I have to give you like the 50% because I can't give you the details without the backstory because it's just not going to make sense. And people are going to sit there like, get away.
Yeah.
So, but when that time comes, that would be my biggest regret in life.
Okay. So we'll bypass. What do you think is something like, I'll answer it first. My biggest regret is, my biggest regret was like playing Christianity and also, diving into pornography when I did.
Yeah.
2 things that, one thing that detrimentally like hurt me mentally, and then another thing that just like I tried to do something that I think even last night we mentioned it, when you put a mask on to try to like portray yourself as something that you're not. What you're actually doing is hindering yourself from true joy, because you think you're finding joy in being somebody that you're not. But at the end of the day, you still go home and you see yourself in the mirror and you know who you are. So
I feel like I did that all throughout high school too.
Yeah.
Like I lived for others and just wanted this like fame. Like when people say like they peak in high school, I don't want to say like I peaked in high school, but like I was try to be Mr. Popular. Like I cared about what everyone thought about me and tried to be like this famous guy in town. And then at the end of the day, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm like, I actually hate you. So then it all fell apart.
I think when we discover whose we are, we then discover who we are. But like,
write that down.
Yeah, write that one down. Ooh-wee.
Ooh.
But I also played the Christian card where I was just like, I went to the Christian school, I did all the things. And so I was just like, that was also a hidden identity because I wasn't really a Christian. I wasn't pursuing the things of Christ. And so when I finally surrendered to that, I was so free. And I wish I knew sooner, but I also don't like live in this mindset of like, man, I wish I can go back in time.
Yeah, that's like how I am.
We all
I don't want to change.
We all say like, man, if I can go back, I would blank. But it's like, you're not God.
Yeah, I'll give you one. It's not even like deep though.
Okay.
A regret is like in high school not working out and putting in the effort because I could have went and played college football.
That's true. You
as a
signed
kicker
up to play at Coastal.
Yeah, I was gonna walk on at Coastal. I had a trainer and everything.
And then COVID.
And then COVID happened, and they canceled tryouts and everything. That's a whole long story. But had I started in high school, like as a skinny guy, I was doing great. Not to toot my own horn, but I could kick for a skinny guy. But if I would have put in the effort and the work, I could have kicked at West Virginia if I wanted to. But everything happens for a reason. And now I'm here doing a podcast with you.
Either, so it wouldn't have probably helped them either. I mean, 3 points.
Yeah, no.
The other team probably already has.
Well,
more.
we can't even score a touchdown, so.
You won this weekend though, Kansas.
Yeah.
So
it's about time.
All right, give me a question.
What is like a misconception people have about you? That's like my deep one.
Oh man, I wish we knew these questions before.
That's no fun.
A misconception that people think about me.
I actually wanted to ask this one because I have one about me that. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so like a lot of people back home, they hate me now just because of my political views, what I post on social media and stuff, because they think I'm this like really hateful guy. I'm really not. I love people. I love to have friends who have different opinions than I do. I don't like hate you. I won't come after you. I'll joke with you because I think that like just lightens the mood. Like if you're a Democrat and friends with me, I'll joke with you about it. And I expect you to joke back with me too. Like come at my neck. It's fine. But I don't like despise you or hate you. But so many people back home, and I asked this question because I saw it on Facebook again. People just like coming at me. You're so hateful. You're a bigot, blah, blah, blah. You're misogynist. I'm really not. Like, get to know me. Yeah. And that's all I had to say on that one.
I think a big misconception about me is like what people think of like my work.
You don't do anything.
Yes. That's literally like, that's the conception that people like. You just go and prepare messages and pray.
Yeah.
And like, I wish I could describe it in a week's time frame, but like, I know of 2 pastors that have told me before, like they've encouraged people if they ask that question, like, what do you do in a week? Like they just tell them like, if you have time, like come and see for yourself. And because one week it could be like, on top of the roof here, cleaning, you know, something off. The next week though, I'm in like 17 different meetings with 17 different people, college students, like, and like, I'm not a licensed therapist, but it's like
you have to carry people's burdens.
And like, somebody described it to me this way. They're like, ministry is one of the loneliest roads you'll ever take. And I think that's for Christians in general because, most people won't understand. Like you are thinking about your sheep 100% of the week. Like I'm always thinking about somebody else. They're thinking about you probably 2 hours out of their week. Wednesday for an hour, Sunday for an hour.
Unless you're Bryce.
Yeah.
He's like, PJ,
I'm thinking about, PJ. He's probably, that's a whole.
I have to give Bryce a shout out though. He is one of the best videographers that's not even like fully trained on video ever.
He's very careful with what he does.
Yeah. Well, he's like my man on the street videographer down here in South Carolina. And he was the one who did it in Charleston. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go watch it. Good content. But like he knows what he's doing. He's like, Colton, bad lighting, move. I'm like, you know exactly what to do. But before he was doing it, Carson had the camera, KT, and I looked back at the footage and I knew that he had like the camera right here. And I was like, Carson, do you know what's on me? He's like, yeah. I look at the footage. It's like my butt half the time. I'm like, okay.
He tried.
But Bryce, he's like right in your face. I'm like, this guy, I love it. So shout out Bryce. Thanks
for him.
Sorry, I cut you
off.
But
that's what a misconception people have is like the work I do. Like I try, like, I just want people to know that I have a strong work ethic. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that sounds prideful or not, but
No, I see it, and I didn't know like everything that went into behind the scenes of a church until
yeah.
I came
Yeah.
here, and I'm here almost every day. And I'm
Which
like,
is what we
wow.
talked about last night. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that'll be a whole other episode, though, like why you should be a member of a church.
Mm-hmm. Well, church community, church needs you. You need the church.
Yes. Which what's a common, like, that question got some people like, does the church really need me?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you ponder it.
Yeah, someone was like, well, I don't know if it's like an arrogant thing to say.
Right.
Like, yes, the church needs me,
Mm-hmm.
but I'd say, like, yeah, the church does need you.
Yeah, 'cause,
because we all need each other.
Exactly.
And if we need each other, then the church needs you.
yes.
Because we are the church.
And we are the church. Bada bing, bada boom.
Write
It's
that down.
simple. It's simple stuff.
It's pretty simple. All right, what's your next question?
Next question is going to be, well, no, I can't say that because I already know your answer. Like, I was going to say, if you couldn't be a West Virginia football fan, who would you be? But it would be
And there's
USC,
a line.
right?
No,
Oh.
well, it's West Virginia, Coastal, because I went there. Then USC,
Then Liberty?
then Liberty,
Wow.
and then someone that we'll talk about in a bit.
Okay.
I was going to have a whole outfit on, but I was like, nah, it was too much.
If you didn't do what you do, like, what would be the career path that you chose?
Sports broadcasting.
Me too.
That was my dream.
Yeah, same.
It's all I wanted to do.
And look at us
growing up.
now. We're commentating middle school football games.
Yeah, so if you're in the area, come out next Tuesday, Conway High School for Conway Middle.
He's actually going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Me and Pops had a lot of fun.
Yeah. I actually got told, like, so Keith came to, Keith is the student pastor. He's also the middle school football coach at Conway High School, or middle school. And came to me and was like, can you commentate the games this year for home games? I was like, yeah. But one was on a Wednesday night, which is when we have service. So, obviously, I didn't miss that. So, Colton stepped in. But, like, dude, the AD came to you and was like, you are, like, we want to book you.
She's
and
like,
so,
"Can we
I've
have
been
you
getting
back?"
heat for weeks
Don't
now.
screw this up.
So, next week is my opportunity to regain or lose my position as the middle school football.
And Keith Autry, if you're watching this, please print out a roster that is in numerical order. This man had, not only was it in alphabetical order, so we're scrambling to look at the numbers because, it's a fast, upbeat thing. And it's front and back page, so you're flipping back and forth. And there's like 3 pages. And then the other team just had 1 page, numerical order,
Made it easy for you.
the position, number, grade, and the name. And I was like,
Come on, coach.
this is what you need. So yeah, very excited for that. But yeah, I would love to be a sports broadcaster. Not even like doing like the play-by-play, but like just
I would
even
want to
if
do the
it's
whole
like-
thing, like game day.
Yeah.
I would want to be like Joel Klatt or somebody that just breaks it down.
If I had the money to do whatever I wanted to do, I would do actually like college game day, but for high school version. I love high school football. I love just like the different atmospheres that you have because
You love high school sports.
yeah, but like high school football up where I'm from, it's totally different than down here. And then like you got Texas high school that looks like colleges. That would be fun to me.
I agree with that. I think I answered the same way. I actually announced like to my high school, I was like, I'm going to go for sports management and get a sports broadcasting degree. And then I went into accounting because I thought I could make money.
I didn't know that.
Got a 19% on my first exam.
Nice.
Realized that
Nice.
this probably isn't for me. Me and my buddy had this idea we're going to do HVAC, and I
Like air
realized,
conditioning?
to make money. And I realized that I was not a hands-on worker.
Yeah.
And then God called me into ministry, and so wouldn't want to do anything else now, obviously. But if I couldn't do it, I would go into that. So
Which one? HVAC or
Sports
sports broadcasting?
so.
Yeah, I want to sell air conditionings for a living. Okay, my second and last question is, what is something that I do that just drives you nuts? We haven't had an argument yet. When's our first friendship argument?
What is something that you do that drives me insane? When you say, "Hey, Pookie,"
You shouldn't have told me that.
gosh, every time I see him, and like if we haven't seen each other in a few, he's like, "Hey, Pookie."
Now I'm going to like take it up a notch.
Yeah,
I think
Yeah.
you know what mine is for you.
the phone thing.
The fun thing.
When I'll ask him a question, and I think I do this with a lot of people. I think I'm actually,
Your wife.
I've been thinking about this for all week, and I'm like, I'm not gonna do it when I'm talking to people. But I'll ask a question. I'll be like, "Hey, Colton, what's the lineup? You know, what's going on this Wednesday night?" And he'll like be midway through, and I'll be like, "Yeah."
And then he's gone. There is no coming back from it.
Yeah, I cannot multitask.
And we're like, so what did we just say?
In the car. I think that was justifiable because you guys were having conversations, and then you're just like, PJ,
no,
what do you think about
we
that?
would be talking directly to you, and you would just get lost in your phone. And then that's when the whole "when's my birthday" started, because we said it. I don't know what we were even talking about, how we got to birthdays, but we said it, and then he didn't pay attention. And then we told him as he paid attention, and then stopped paying attention again, and then just kept
June 22nd, July 30th.
March 8th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Moving on from that. So there was like some breaking news. Not really breaking news, but some, what would we call this? Like some hot topic news that's been going on in America right now. And I just kind of want to highlight it because the more I dug into it, the crazier it got. So basically the death penalty. How did we get here?
Good night. Yeah, how did we get here?
How did we get here? Well, I'm seeing so much stuff on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, of the Democrat Party just reeling people about the death penalty and how the death penalty should be banned. And I'm actually okay with that. I don't know what your thoughts on the death penalty is, but I always went back and forth. I could go either way, to be honest.
Well, I think biblically you can go either way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's our right to necessarily, like, we shouldn't champion when somebody is put to death, but I'm also not riding when they take it away. I think that's why God's given us governing authorities. I think that's a whole episode, though, the death penalty. But I'm not against the death penalty. I think there are cases where it's, I think it's justifiable.
Yeah. I mean, it does, like, prevent crime,
like
lower crime.
A lot of people try to use like the scene where with the woman caught in adultery, and Jesus says like, "He who has no sin cast the first stone." That has nothing to do with the death penalty. That's just the grace that he offers. But he also, at the same time, we have to understand God's wrath. We all are deserving of death. Yeah, which is the ultimate penalty. But I think if we when we say we submit to governing authorities, they have the right to implement the death penalty. Yeah. But my thing is, if you're correlating with what I think you're correlating with, abortion.
Yeah, it's going
like that's not, you can't justify murdering an innocent baby. And that's what it is. Like, period.
Mic drop.
I know you asked the question this weekend, like to people, like, what is it? And I heard like some echoing of like a clump of cells, but
like, what are you? You're
okay. So a comedian actually, like, I remember this now. A comedian laid out. He's like, and obviously like, not a Christian, more than likely, anything like that. But he was saying, he's like, I kind of look at it this way. He's like, if I were to bake a cake, put it into a pan and put it in the oven, and 5 minutes in, you were to take it out and throw it over, I'd be like, dude, you threw my cake away. He's like, it wasn't a cake yet. It's going to be a cake.
Right. So, well, we all know that scientifically from the moment of conception, life begins. But that was like the thing that people were debating. But the reason why I bring this like whole thing up, and you just kind of like alluded to it, there was 5 executions this week. Did you know that? I didn't even know that until I was on the way over here. It's the most in decades in the United States. And I don't bring this up to like debate the death penalty, because I think that should be like a whole episode one time, like biblically, and then like from a government aspect, because I do go both ways. The problem I have with it is like, people are on death row for like 50 years. So like, what's the point?
Yeah, I don't know what the system is there with like, because aren't we like, isn't there something with our funds going towards like?
Yeah, well, it's more expensive to keep someone on death row than life in prison. So like it costs taxpayers more.
Yeah, that's a whole that's a whole deep dive.
But South Carolina was the first one of this week to put someone to death, and I didn't know that. His name was Freddie Owens for death in 1997, killing a convenience store clerk during a robbery. So, like, you wait that long, I just don't understand that one.
Oh, wait, what year did he murder?
1997.
So 27. Yeah, I was born in 97, so 27 years later.
So, and then the one that like took everyone by surprise was in Missouri on Tuesday. Marcellus Williams was put to death by lethal injection for the 1998 stabbing of a woman in the St. Louis suburb of University City. Williams' attorney argued on Monday that the state Supreme Court should halt his execution over alleged procedural errors in jury selection and the prosecution's alleged mishandling of the murder weapon, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, even the victim's family said that they didn't want him to be put to death. That's not the point. I'm not here to debate that, but the guy was a black man. So the Democrat Party, and this is just like what makes my blood boil, is when I'm scrolling on Twitter, and I don't know how I get into this algorithm of being stuck on Democrat Twitter or even TikTok, but they are going off the rails about this, saying that it's a racist thing, that America hates black people, that one guy said they're lynching him. It's like, what in the world? So they want to abolish the death penalty. It's the Democrats. And AOC put it on there. Rashida Tlaib, all these Democrat people said that we need to abolish the death penalty. The problem I have with that is that they love abortion. They love when innocent human life is being murdered, but they want to ban when convicted criminals are being put to death for a crime that they committed. They're not even innocent.
Yeah.
Granted, I know that there are like discrepancies where people have been put to death as an innocent person, but 99% of them I'd say are convicted, but 100% of every victim in an abortion is innocent. And that's just like the total hypocrisy. And to what you were talking about with the man on the street, I basically asked flat up, Trump or Kamala? And if someone said Trump, they could give me reasons why. You know, the economy, crime, the border, all that. But they said Kamala, the only reasons I heard was women's rights, or she's black, she's a woman, and reproductive rights was the main thing. And they don't really grasp the concept of abortion. I think that's like the problem in our country is until they see what an abortion is, they understand what an abortion is, they're just always going to support it because they have this like liberation movement, this I can do whatever I want, this individualistic outlook on life. But at the end, the very last person that we talked to, it was a girl who was just kind of like pushed in front of me by her friends. And they were like, she went to an interview and I asked her, Trump or Kamala? And she said, well, I think I'm leaning towards Kamala. And her reason was because abortion. Well, I started like diving in deep with it, talking about how the procedures to save a woman's life are not abortions, how sexual assault only makes up for less than 1% of abortion. She was like, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that one either. And then I got to the end and it was like, how, like, are you shifting on this? And she was like, yeah, like you're actually educating me. And she said, thank you for educating me because I didn't know this. That's because respectful. I see everything on Twitter. But that's just kind of why.
It's not you saying like you know everything either. It's just like kind of laying out the facts for people to understand. Because what we see on social media and stuff, that goes to show like we don't know everything that these people actually stand for.
Yeah.
So when we lay out the facts, then it's like I can weigh it for myself. And that's the thing is like you have to. A lot of that's where we go back to the celebrity thing. Like people are basing it on other people's opinions. Instead, like you made her think. Right. And when she thought, she was like, "Huh, I don't agree with any of that."
Yeah.
Let's lean, a certain way.
So there's like my favorite times doing Man on the Street is when I can not necessarily like fully change people's minds, but get them to like start thinking otherwise. Yeah. Because then there was this girl who was just like, F you, gave me the finger and was like, well, I think I would believe in science, but I was like, science tells you that life begins. I think the woman,
that sweet lady on the fountain.
Yeah,
one of my favorites to see.
Yeah, I didn't know which way she was swinging politically because she had a shirt on, which this is me like being judgmental, but like most people who wear that type of shirt is on the left. But then she started talking about like COVID, faith, and protecting children, and I was like, wait a minute, are you more conservative than I was thinking? But she was like, she knew what she was talking about too. Like people out there actually educate themselves.
Yeah.
And
you should too.
That's just kind of the reason why I want to bring it up. I kind of want to start doing like hot topics each week, like just in the news, just like bringing it up and just shed light on it. And that was,
I just won't always have an answer. But
yeah, that's fine.
I like it. I like talking about it. I think Christians should grasp a worldview and like, even if you're like, I don't do politics, like you don't have to do politics. You just have to understand them like for yourself and think, like just think for a little bit, like just take some time and grasp something. That's why we do what we do with college students. Like, I don't want to just get up there and talk for 30 minutes. I'd rather them like, hey, what, like, I believe this. Here's what the Bible says. Like, but what do you believe about it? And then like, does it align with the word? Because people always ask the question too. I don't know why I'm grabbing the mic. Like, well, what
Probably
do you
just
think?
made it a lot louder.
Yeah.
Go right back.
Some people are like, they do a Bible study. They're like, well, Colton, what do you think it says? It doesn't matter what Colton thinks. It doesn't matter what PJ thinks. Like, the Bible's clear. Like, let it speak for itself. So,
well, speaking of college stuff, we were in Charleston. We did do Man on the Street. We were out in the streets, but that necessarily wasn't the reason why we were there. So we were there for TRB, Teach Reach Beach.
yes,
My first time going. Is this your second time being there?
second time.
What did you expect going into it? Because I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah. So when I moved to South Carolina last April, got connected with Alex, which was one of the leaders from TRB, Alex Smith from Taylor's First Baptist. Shout out. And we just started brainstorming, and we're like, how can we like kind of get connected better? And JG, Todd, Alex, and I basically set up this group call, and TRB just kind of came to life. We wanted to equip college students.
Oh, so you're kind of like a mastermind of it. I didn't know that.
We were founders, which is so cool to think about. So last year was our first year. They came to Coastal, and we went to Coastal to evangelize. But Teach Reach Beach is obviously, TRB is teach. We teach you the word, or like we equip you. Reach, we go on campus and we
share the gospel.
We practice what we preach. And then beach is simply just the idea of resting in Christ, stepping away from everything going on and having fun with one another.
Yeah, because there was no beach for me.
No.
There was rest afterwards.
Yes, biblically. Yeah, I don't know how much rest you typically get, because it's really a mission trip within our own state. So fast forwarding to this year, I went into it with an anticipation like, okay, I love making college students feel uncomfortable, because I think there's a common misconception that Christianity is comfortable. Like, we find our right chair or pew in the church.
This is my seat.
Yeah. And we're Sunday morning Christians, but realistically, like, this is a weekend to get them out of their comfort zone, put them in a position where it's like, okay, you're outside your context of your surrounding area. And so, like, hey, you're never probably going to see this person again, so just go have a conversation with them. And a lot of them, they're nervous about sharing the gospel. So what do we do? First, we talked about rest, and just what it looks like to rest in Christ. But then the next morning, breakouts on a lot of things that college students need, like what does it look like to have a Christ-centered relationship and not just a Christian cliche relationship. How to Bible study, just like equipping them. And then we're like, hey, also, like, we need to understand how important it is to share the faith, because realistically, it's like we have the cure to cancer and we're refusing to share it. So what do? We're going to go down and have conversations. And here's the thing. I think my biggest takeaway is, like, it's not in your hands. Like, you're to be faithful and, like, go and tell somebody, like, hey, do you know Jesus? If not, can I at least tell you about him? You planted a seed. The Holy Spirit that is in us does the rest. And so I think it's easy to say that, but when somebody grasps that reality, I think you could see it. And there's, like, Thomas last night gave a great testimony to it, and just what he learned. And yes, we slept on air mattresses in a gym. Like, I loved every second of it.
It was fun.
I was tired, but I was like, I was spiritually, like, filled up.
Yeah.
So,
well, speaking of, like, going out on the street and stuff, like, I do that for a living. Talking to random people. But I was, like, terrified to not necessarily, like, share the gospel. What I was scared about is, like, people asking follow-up questions that I wouldn't be able to answer, like, right off the top of my head. And that's what, like, gave me anxiety. And I was walking around the streets of Charleston, and I was like, I had this strong conviction that it was like making me mad that, like, I need to go talk to people, but I'm terrified of doing it. But then afterwards, I was like, screw it, I'm not doing this. And I started doing my Man on the Street political stuff. But I realized that was my doorway, because everyone was, like, trying to, like, find their doorway of, like, how to navigate just, like, starting a conversation. And I don't really know how to do that. I just walk up to people and, like, hey, Trump or Kamala. And then that opens the doorway. But, like, I'd say 80% of the conversations I had that lasted longer than 30 seconds, the gospel was in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, most of that wasn't necessarily like in that video, but like that was my gateway. And that kind of just like,
well, Marco kind of pointed that out, right? He said, like his gateway was like, hey, I got, there's this podcast. I just want to ask you a few questions. And like it got to, and I love what he pointed out, because we were going over methods for them to use, like 15-second testimonies. Like,
I can't do that.
Before Christ, I was,
mine's an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, well, where do I start? Before Christ, I was blah, 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 blah. But like, like we taught him, like, before Christ, I was lonely and afraid, but because of Christ, I'm made new and I find joy in him. Do you have a story like that? And so that's an easy way for them. But then Marco makes a point. I love when I ask him, like, what's your method? He's like, dude, I go straight for the jugular. Like, I'm going to ask him, like, man, do you know Jesus? And somebody said on the trip, man, I would rather have somebody spit in my face here on earth, like, for me asking that question, than stand before God and him say, why were you so disobedient? And I was like, that hit me.
Wow.
Yeah. And what it does is it shouldn't scare you. What it should do is motivate us. Like, man, we really have something that people need. And we always talk about what we need in life, but realistically, Christ is everything. And so it just gives them, I think it was a good opportunity, even for us. Like, you lead in college ministry. I am the pastor of this ministry, but like, I still get nervous about it. And so my gateway is always energy drinks. College students love energy drinks. I hand them one. I'm like, hey, we're partnering with this church. Or I'm like, hey, can I ask you guys a few questions? But it's a free, like, you put something in their hands, they love it.
I was watching you do that in Charleston, and it was like, it was a little different than OK Day at Coastal, because like we have a tent and everything, and sitting up. This,
I was very
it looked like some random guy
person
trying to give you like energy drinks on the side of the street, and
I
eventually
gave up on that.
What is
but
going on?
It led to a conversation with a police officer on the way back. He probably thought like, oh, I'm gonna have to arrest this guy because he's walking over the cooler. But I just he gave me a nod. I gave him a nod. I was like, hey, do you want an energy drink? Like, you know, we're just handing them out. And he was like, what you got? So I gave him like 20 of them because I was just getting rid of them. But
that's where they went.
And I just asked him, I was like, man, how long have you been a cop? How long have you been in Charleston? And it led to, you know, do you mind me asking, like, do you have a faith of some sort? And he grew up Catholic, you know, got away from church is how he described it. So no, he did not have a faith in Jesus, at least. Everybody has a worldview, but it led to, I had the opportunity to pray for him, invite him to church. And I didn't get into the debate between Catholicism and Christianity just because I think he grasped that, and I don't think there was a debate taking place. It was more or less, though, just a conversation. And what it did is, like, afterwards, I was like, it's that simple. Like, yeah, the worst thing people tell you is no. Hey, can I ask you about Jesus? No. Okay.
Like, okay, see you.
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell you anyway. Move along.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask, was that like your favorite part of the trip, was going out in the streets and talking to people?
I think that's the most uncomfortable. So I'd say that's the most successful part of the trip. I think my favorite part of any trip is like the people we have, man. Just like you said, like the 2 a.m. conversations, like those, like you don't get those back. Like having those is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah. It's when you like really grow close with each other. You learn a lot about each other. It's just like a bonding thing. I mean, we did a 2 a.m. talk in camp over the summer outside the chapel. That was fun.
Yeah.
I think that was my favorite part. And then they played Battle Belongs.
Yes, the worship on this trip was, I wept the first night. So King of Kings always gets me.
They sang Living Hope the first night
too.
So
both of those.
Wickham, I was like,
and then we got to worship with Fort Johnson, which shout out to them for hosting us and letting us stay there for free. So all in all, man, like such a great trip. It was the church being the church, partnering with other local bodies and just having fun living for Jesus. Like,
yeah. Before we wrap up and get to the most important part of the podcast, what would you change or like do differently going into next year, assuming there's going to be a next year?
Yes, there will be. What would I change?
or do differently or add?
I wish I could add an extra day, to be honest, just to hang out with each other. And like we have free time even like during that time, but like it is like bang, bang, bang with everything. So I don't know. Come back to me on that. I'll probably answer it next week.
I ask you next year. Coming around to it. Okay. It's time.
It's time.
We're
like we've actually made the same picks 2 weeks in a row, I think.
Yeah, I know.
So
you need to stop doing that.
I pick first.
I don't think so. So I'm going to ask you this time. We really suck at this.
Dude, I think this year, though, college football is so unpredictable. Yeah. And I probably say that every year, but realistically, like, when you look at it, it's like, it doesn't make sense.
No, I mean, like, West Virginia losing a pitch shouldn't have happened, things like that. I'm so hurt about that.
Thinking too.
Yeah, we would be horrible sports broadcasters at this point because our picks are almost 500. Okay, first one. We got Big 12 matchup, number 20, Oklahoma State at number 23, Kansas State. I have Oklahoma State as the Big 12 champs. I'm picking them in
I think
Manhattan.
That Oklahoma State, Kansas State got blown out by BYU last week. Oklahoma State lost to Utah, who was my front runner for the Big 12 championship. But I think that we're going to see a rematch in the Big 12 championship between Oklahoma State and Utah. So I'm going Oklahoma State.
Of course. Here we go again, picking mine. We got number 15, Louisville. How do you say it? Louisville? Because that's correct. Louisville at number 16, Notre Dame.
Which is who Louisville is going to lose to. Notre Dame.
Oh, finally we have a different pick. I'm picking Louisville.
Really?
I think Notre Dame
is overrated.
They've been overrated for the past couple years.
They've been overrated for 10 years.
And, I mean, they lost to Marshall a couple years ago. Now this year they lose to Northern Illinois. I think they need to join a conference number one.
I agree.
Until then.
They're doing it for money.
The money, the NBC TV deals. Yeah. I'm going Cards on this one. This one's just for you. Number 19, Illinois at number 9, Penn State. West Virginia and Penn State are teaming up this weekend. If you haven't seen on Twitter, the West Virginia burner accounts are attacking Illinois because they basically came after West Virginia. So now we're all.
That's kind of weird, but
I didn't get it.
Sure. So you're choosing Penn State. We are an 18-point favorite. I don't think we'd cover that spread, but I do think Penn State wins. It's in Happy Valley at night. Gotta win.
As long as they don't act like Bowling Green.
Yeah.
That was almost
that was also
pathetic.
So.
Yeah. Okay, we have a rivalry.
Yeah.
Tobacco Road. I was thinking about going to this because everyone's leaving me this weekend. Yeah. This guy's going to the Clemson-Stanford game. Not even going to the game.
I'm just going.
We could be at Liberty in App State, which is the Christians versus the liberal hillbillies, but it's fine. I'll be watching football from my couch. North Carolina at Duke.
I can't pick North Carolina in my good conscience.
I have to pick North Carolina. I don't like Duke. Haven't you learned from the sermon last week in church? Don't pick the devil, no matter what color they are.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
I love Mac Brown.
Here. You love Mac Brown?
I love Mac Brown. And
I liked him in Texas.
No, I like him at North Carolina. I thought
Blue Devils.
I thought he was going to get fired.
Cheer for the devil.
No, I like him. And then the big one. This is my 5th team that I like.
And I'm agreeing with you on this pick.
Oh, number 2, Georgia, and number 4, Alabama. I had a full outfit I was going to wear at Bama.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Who's that coming down the street? Is it?
Who's that coming down the track?
It ain't going to be the Bulldogs this weekend. I think it's going to be a really tight game.
I do have a shirt on.
This is like Lee Corso.
I had a hat and everything.
Yeah.
But I had the houndstooth.
Only reason I'm picking them is because Bama's at home.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Monroe's my Heisman front runner. And Georgia's lacking right now, but again, college football, anything could happen. Georgia could blow them out this weekend, too.
I hope they actually have the game, though, because it's hurricane.
That's true. They will.
Godspeed to everyone.
Give me Bama. Bama by, between 3 and 6.
Roll Tide. West Virginia's off, Coastal's off, Carolina's off. So I'm a Liberty fan and a Tide fan this weekend. Last word?
Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next week.